Hi, my name is Cesar. I'm the writer, director, actor of Salud.
My name is Wittmann, and I play Junito.
Yeah.
Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. I'm Cassandra Kate Escobar.
Thank you all for coming out. I'm Julian Pimiento. Our short played before this wonderful film. And thank you for coming out.
Hi, my name is Tova Leibowitz, and I'm the producer editor of Grace, which is the short.
Any film questions for the cast or producers? By all means. Question in the back.
I had a question for Cesar. Congratulations, beautiful movie. When you were writing it, did you ever think about the ending? Maybe he finds recovery and he doesn't die. Did you have a ambivalence about the ending, or you always knew it would be like this?
At times, I wasn't too sure about the ending. Some people were like, oh, it should be, leaning towards a happy ending. But being that when I did my first short film, it had a sad ending, I wanted to keep it more or less similar. And then once I started writing it, towards the end, I kept going back and forth. Should I make it happy? Should I make it sad? And then I just said, you know what? It worked for Junito, the sad ending, so I'll just make it sad again.
I think the ending was good because the downward spiral of the character, it kind of called for that. I mean, I was kind of hoping and rooting that he might, be able to pull himself together and have a comeback, and that would have been a really Hollywood happy ending kind of thing. But I think, the way that you created the film, you trusted yourself, you trusted what you were giving over the course of the film, and, it was sad for it to happen, but, I think it was more true to the vision of the film. And, he did leave that little boy. I thought the relationship between the father and son was really beautifully captured. And I think that, considering what happened, the little boy was still left with that really good, very strong, very, wonderful memory of the father.
Yeah, that was one of the things I wanted to leave behind was just a little hint of hope with the little boy.
Nice. I think you should be very, congratulations for that. I think you got really beautiful performances from everyone in the cast. From your sponsor to the little boy to the two women in your lives. And the character was very rich in the sense that, there were moments when you got really angry with it. It said, you have people rooting for you. You have a job, you live in this nice thing. What's the problem? And I don't know if I missed it or not. I could never really put my finger exactly on what the problem was. But sometimes there's a sadness or there's just something that's there. You can't really define it or name it. And it just has its bad way. It works its way through and not always in a good way. And again, I think that maybe that was the strength of the film. Once I could let that go and just say, well, whatever it is, people are pulling for him. He just doesn't have that ability to go in and look and do it himself. And that's perhaps what brought the end, But I thought the relationships between your ex-wife, and even that was nice. It was very complex. I mean, there was moments when she knew she couldn't live with him, but she still loved him and she still wanted to be supportive and help him. Again, I like that about the film.
Is it based on a true story?
Yeah. It's actually based on my life story. The character played by Reymond is actually my story, and my father, is the alcoholic.
Outside.
So, how did you feel, and reference to
Thank you.
how did you feel after you made the film? Did you feel the difference towards somebody that you said it's a true story? So, how did you feel from going through this entire experience of reliving almost what you went through? What was the feeling after you completed?
I was anxious, I was nervous, because once you finish a film, that's just half the battle. then you got editing, and I mean, you could shoot all these great footages, but in the editing room, if you don't do a good job there, you're not really going to have a great film. So I was still a little concerned. I was still nervous, and I could honestly say that I'm still nervous, because we're still going to festivals, still getting feedback, and I like to hear what the audience has to say, because as a filmmaker, I like to learn, and I want to know, what worked, what didn't, because I'm working on other features, and whatever didn't work this time, at least I learn from that and apply it to my next film.
As a quick follow-up question, what did you want people to walk away with?
Oh, just awareness. When I first did my first short, it was based on the same topic, and people were telling me, like, I could relate to that. And it was like people from everywhere, people from Florida, and people from Europe, white people, black people, Latin people. I mean, everyone has an alcoholic in their family or relative or something like that. And so, I just wanted people to be aware of it and be attentive, because, it's something that affects a lot of lives, not just the person that's an alcoholic.
I really thought that the intimacy of the cinematography, I thought the cinematography really was beautiful, and it served the film very, very well, that it had such a sense of closeness and intimacy, and it worked as a whole, as a great, directorial debut in a way. What was your relationship? What was your relationship with the cinematographer, since you were in the movie yourself? How did you do that? How did you manage that?
We had a good relationship. We had met probably for a previous project, and we were both working together. I was a director, he was a DP. It was for a short film, and we established a good relationship at that time. And I was pitching my feature, and I didn't really have a DP, and he was very excited, and I just said, you'll be my DP, and that's how we worked it out.
Yeah, first off, congratulations, man. The film was really moving.
Thank you.
From the cinematography to the acting to the soundtrack even. I was really touched at a lot of moments. The realism was really striking. That's one thing that really stood out to me. It felt like, this could happen next door. And I was wondering about the ending and that trip back home. It didn't seem to be necessary, but it was really poignant, and I wondered what you meant by that, or how it fit in.
The trip to Guatemala?
Yeah.
Well, because the film is based on my father's story, it's actually, what really happened was towards the end of, when he was diagnosed with cirrhosis, he was advised to go back to Guatemala, and he really didn't want to go, just like he said in the film, I don't want to leave Junito. But, we all wanted the best for him, and we wanted him to be taken care of, because here in New York, nobody was taking care of him. So in Guatemala, he had his family, his parents and stuff, and that's, my mom was not going to look out for him that much, because, she was already remarried and, with kids and stuff. So she couldn't give him that attention that he needed. So he went to Guatemala, and that's where he eventually passed away.
I want to add a point about that, the fact that he moved to Guatemala, I think was to great effect, was the fact that that distance that created, that made the heartbreak of the child that much more poignant, that much more, for me anyway. But I think, I think that works in that way, as far as him going to Guatemala, and the son not seeing his father before he dies, that made it that much more heartbreaking.
First, I want to acknowledge the whole cast and the whole team. It was an absolutely wonderful production.
Thank you.
And it was such great rapport between the cast members and the believability of the story. And I'm wondering for yourself, Reymond and Cassandra, what the process of presenting such a powerful story is like.
I played Mimi, and I actually got to sit down with the real-life Mimi, and this is my story. what you see on there is my heart. My dad was an alcoholic. It wasn't a happy ending. And my mom she's from a third world country. She abides by her man, stands by her man. And growing up, I didn't understand why she stood silent. And she chose to stand by him. And this was my opportunity to speak out and say, hey, stop, you're hurting. And you're hurting us. So, it's my first project. Thank you, Cesar, for believing in me, Reymond, for amazing. Thank you. So, I mean, it's my first project. It's my heart and soul, and I'm so proud that that got captured. So thank you again to all of you.
We're going to take one more question and we're going to prep for the next two.
For Junito, how old were you in the movie? Actually, are you
I
close to
think
7?
I was about 10.
How do you do in school?
I think you should know.
It was an excellent job, honestly. Really good
That's
job.
his
Well,
teacher.
Oh,
it's his principal.
Let's give him a round of applause.